Right. All righty, we will get started. Just one moment. All right. Welcome, everyone, to our new series, the Eros Revolution Podcast. I'm your host, Leah, and today I'm joined by Eli Block and Aubrey Fuller. Every Monday and Thursday, we discuss the latest cultural trends and topics through the lens of Eros. So I'm excited to introduce you all to Aubrey and Eli. They have a combined over 30 years of orgasmic meditation practice and practice living of life based in Eros philosophy. So not only do they talk a wonderful talk, as you will see, but they walk their talk, as you will also be able to feel. So I'm excited for you guys to be able to experience their wisdom that they have accrued over many years. So this podcast is approaching topics that are in the culture that are hot topics and providing the erotic lens. And I'm personally very excited for this because the Eros philosophy based in the practice of orgasmic meditation provides a lot of clarity around topics that really can entrance everyone, but a lot of people don't really know why. So they'll be a great way to get some sanity around why these things are so irresistible to our attention. All right, so we have some very exciting topics this week. Today, we have the first one will be the male and female gaze. Then we'll go into consent.
Can you feel it?
And then our last topic of today will be hypergamy. So if you haven't heard that word, you may have. If you haven't, get ready. It's a great one. So any questions that you have while you're hearing these topics, feel free to put into the chat and I will ask them. So without further ado, I welcome Aubrey and Eli.
Hey friends, good to see you
Hi.
guys and everyone streaming that I can't see, just mysteriously out there.
Good to see you, Aubrey.
Good to see you, Eli. What's
I
up,
know.
man?
It's like one of those shows where it's like such an important podcast that the people are on different sides of the world. They're like, oh my God, hello, that we meet for this important thing. So it's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that take. All right, so yeah, as Leah said, we're going to do 3 different topics today, maybe more, depending on what kind of questions come in and really just where we want to go with it. I love the dynamism of this structure, framework of this particular call. So I believe we're starting with male gaze, female gaze, and I believe, is Courtney our sharer? I think she has a thing to share, a video for us. One of these fine people is sharing.
I think my favorite thing that TikTok has taught me is the difference in the male and female gaze. Like what each gender finds attractive versus what they think is attractive, right? Like as a guy, I'll see a guy on my For You page who's just jacked, lifting weights, and I'll be like, hey, he probably cleans up with the ladies. Peep the comment section, and it's just other guys being like, you're so jacked, you're huge. Like, cool. You scroll down, and there's like a below average guy, but he's cooking. And women are just in heat in the comment section, feral for this man. Like, marry me, I told my mom about you. Like, I'll clean up at the house, and my wife will just be like, that's so hot. And I'm like, really? I just sprayed Windex and wiped a couple of times. That's all it took? Crazy.
Dude, it's ridiculous. That video had like 800,000 likes. I just would like to
Wow.
to note. So this is definitely something that people are fascinated by. So okay, now I had a friend say that there is no such thing as the female gaze. The implication being that the female or the feminine would be the thing being observed, and that the observing activity is the masculine. A little a little bit trippy, but I actually kind of liked it. Like, I think that might actually be true.
Mm.
But I think that women wanted something to like delineate when we like something unexpected, and when something is a felt sense attraction versus like a visual attraction. And so I think that, men are trained to be very like visual. It's very often like attraction is very appearance based. It's very kind of, surface level. There's a lot of energy pushed toward the surface level of something. And the male gaze, I think, and you can tell me, Eli, if I'm wrong, but the male gaze is very like visual. And then women can be trained to be like extremely visual with things, but our natural state is total felt sense. Like it's total felt sense. And I think you see this more too, like basically like if like women will date, let's say culturally a woman would be considered by most people like, I don't know, a 9 or something like that. She would, if a guy has a feel, like a hot feeling to him in some way, she'd date like someone who would be considered like a 4 and not even think twice about it. Like because it's a felt sense thing, And so to me, the female gaze is really like, oh, it's culture's way of trying to get near the fact that women are total felt sense beings and we go by feel on things.
Mm.
Whereas the male gaze is where all of the energy is pushed towards kind of the appearance level of things.
I think that's fascinating actually. And I was going to ask you another question about that, which was one of the things that I used to talk about when teaching the men's course often, because guys don't understand that like how a woman feels about herself matters in a way that it just doesn't occur to us. And so the example that I give, and this exact example actually works in a variety of different contexts, but where a woman will walk up to a closet full of clothes and say there's nothing to wear. Like, but what she means is that there's nothing which fits the way that I feel. There's nothing which matches this being today. Whereas dudes will buy, 10 of the exact same outfit and wear them for 15 years. And it's like this is exactly how it feels to wear, but it's like it's not in our consciousness. Um, and so that was I have a couple of thoughts. But I was going to start with that one and get your take on that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Actually, what that immediately made me think of was something that, okay, so there was this, I forgot about this, but a couple of years ago, there was this guy on TikTok who for like a week or two straight, um, all the women on TikTok, went kind of like feral around this guy. And he was like kind of strange looking, like kind of creepy. It was a very strange, and all the men were just like, I don't understand. And then they actually got kind of mad. And there were the comment sections on this guy's videos were really entertaining for a while.
Uh-huh.
But when you said that, I immediately was like, oh, all the women were attracted to like how they felt like they would feel with him.
Right. Right. It's sort of like that where it's so like, I think what we're kind of nosing around here is this notion of the female gaze or whatever, like being more about it's somehow it's more about her. And so, right before this, you guys, Aubrey and I were talking, we were sitting at a table here at the One Taste Center in New York, and we were talking about how these conversations go and like I kind of like building an argument from the ground up and Aubrey kind of like sort of like circumambulating it, and like taking like nibbles from different sides and like not knowing where we're going to end up. And I was sort of like, um, anyway, that's kind of how this one's going. So I was just delighting in that for a moment. Um, but Aubrey, you said something else about like men being visual and that kind of being a more male thing. And I think we're kind of hovering, or I think this conversation is going to kind of hover around this sort of idea because I've had this other thought, which is like, really, why does a woman get an engagement ring and not a dude? And I had this thought a long time ago. Like I remember the first time it was like 2016, and I was like, what is that about? And the conclusion I came to in the moment was that because other women will feel her on him. He doesn't need a physical thing.
Right,
There's
like it's almost extra.
Yeah, it's extra. It'd be redundant. It's like stupid actually for her. Like you gave your man an engagement ring. Like why?
Was
Like
your scent not strong enough on him?
exactly, exactly, exactly. Like right. So like that, I think that kind. I'm not totally able to articulate exactly the way that that relates, but I think it's we're seeing we're seeing something. We're circling around something here. And so that I think is part of it because that made a lot of sense and it still does. And then
Okay,
the
what about this? What about this? What about the some of the best sex I've ever had in my whole life was sex where when I would describe it to a friend after, like, because I like to talk about my experiences with my lady friends after the fact. When I describe it to a friend after, I would say something along the lines of, it felt like I was able to open in a way that had him feel like he could just sort of let go and get out of the way so that I could almost have sex with myself.
yes, I think yes, yes. Um, Fascinating. I find that I find that very hot and also I find that very fascinating. Um, And there's about a bazillion different places that that could jump off that are, even more tangential from male female gaze. But it's funny because I'm sure it'll relate. But I was thinking about Om and like why do we stroke the woman? And I think there's also something there, which is like because there's something that's emanating from her that we can't get from stroking. It doesn't emanate from the man. And people often say, well, what if you just reversed it? Like what if you just reversed it? Wouldn't it be the same thing? And I say no. I say, but what has to happen in order for Om to reverse, in order for for the stroker, in order for that, like what they don't understand is that the man, if he's being stroked, is still the stroker. It's still the woman going out of control. And so even though the physical has changed, the other part would have to be able to be sustained through the physical change. And that's kind of a mind blower. And it really, to me, puts in perspective how powerfully the a woman's emanation bears on the situation. And so I think we are right on top of this question of
Mm.
like, and actually I think I agree with the person who said that to you, that the like what is there something about it being called a gaze versus like why do we call it because gaze kind of references the response, doesn't it?
Mm.
So wouldn't it be more like an emanation that we'd be referring to, right? It's kind of giving the
Mm.
bee all of the credit where it's actually the flower.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the bee's homing signal. No, it's the flower's pollen signal. That's you know
Mm.
something it's something like that, and it's one of those places where I just keep hearing like our wonderful friend Rachel Cherwitz, uh, when faced with these moments in the front of a classroom, used to look at the class and say, I had to admit at some point, being a woman's an asshole sometimes. Where like you kind of, let go of you have to release your reservation on being done to in some way, or
Mm.
it's actually coming from me. What do you think of that?
The thing that's coming to mind is just the depth to which women have also taken on masculine ways of doing things, so deeply. And so the mechanism of observing beauty,
Hmm.
just the mechanism itself is a masculine
Vision, you mean?
thing to do. Like you have to have separation to
That
do
that
that.
that that you gaze from one to another like that, or
Yeah. Like just the mechanism itself is like, and then it's like women are, because another thing that I've experienced in those type of moments in sex is is actually connecting to the women in my life who are in that realm, where it's kind of in the mystical state, and it's almost like psychedelics. And like I basically have sex to have a psychedelic experience. And so when it's in there, then I actually can almost connect to, not almost, I mean, I can connect to the women in my life that I'm connected to as well, because they are me and I am them, kind of thing. And so there's this non-separation to it. And so the female would be always, in a way, the feminine would always be what is and what is being observed. And then the masculine would be the mechanism of observing itself, and both are, and so then it's almost unnatural so I get why I kind of get why the female gaze doesn't exist in a way. Because it's almost unnatural for women to, and then on a much more, like, that's a pretty high level of abstraction. On a much simpler level, it's like the depth to which women have taken on climaxing like men in sex, and then their bodies don't naturally do that the same way as men's for the most part. And then that means that we're lacking and that we're broken. I mean, that's a fundamental part of our intro to class that that you do this part really well, where you talk about, well, this foundational thing means that this set of people is broken and this set is incompetent,
That's
and
just the way it is.
And that's just that's just how we operate. Like, oh, you don't come like a man? Nah, you're broken. It's like, and that's that's like a basic one that we've taken on so deeply, but it just iterates, I mean, it's in everything. Like this path, the erotic path for me as a woman, and for the women I know who have undertaken it, is so very much a path of unlearning all the ways that is so ingrained and unnatural to us, and then learning how to like be a woman, and like how to be like how to like open, how to be receptive, how to surrender without collapsing, all of these tricky things that I think probably Rachel's referring to when she says sometimes being a woman can be an asshole.
Yep. So then just to put a cap on it. So, and then I think, so just to put a cap on it. So you're in a group of women and they're like, ugh, the male gaze. What's your like one-liner that you say to like bring reality?
I like run the women's movement, right? So I'm always looking for ways to have women understand how much power we have and how much responsibility we have and how much impact we have and actually how we're, like influencing everything all the time. So my first thought when you said that was like, well, how did we set it up that men are so obsessed with the surface level only of things?
Ooh, nice one.
Like, in what ways do we constantly put all of our energy towards the appearance level of things so that that's what they fixate on?
There you go.
And that's where we stay.
Bam.
And Russell's on. Russell, Russell's my sutra chat poster on like all calls. He really earned that position. So post the illusion of woman. That, if you want to know more about what I just said, anybody
Brilliant.
Read that.
Wonderful, wonderful. That was a really enlightening, I feel like a peppering of the first little bits of consciousness. And I'm like, oh, I want more. So that was great. Thank you. And now we'll go to our next topic, which is consent.
Well, and it's really kind of like, it's consent, but it's kind of like consent acrobatics. And I would also say like consent acrobatics and God, how do you say this one? It's like and boundaries where what our expectations have to be of other people in order to believe that we could possibly claim that non-consensual behavior occurred when we were not just enthusiastic, but you know, This is a new one. They say there's enthusiastic consent. This is a case of antagonistic consent. So Leah, let's go ahead and pop this article open. So if you guys haven't heard about this, there was a situation in Canada where a hockey team or members of a hockey team somehow wound up in a hotel room with a woman, age, young lady, but totally of age. And are we going to get that on screen?
Yeah, we're working on it.
And basically, what happened was she provoked them into a sort of serial slash group behavior sexuality experience. And should I share it?
I think they have it now.
Okay. Okay, great. Yes, there you go. So they've been found not guilty. And let's go ahead and scroll down. Okay, great. So here, this is the little synopsis. So they've all been found not guilty. Didn't find the complainant's evidence to be credible or reliable, right? But we're reading about this in the newspaper, and so which means that this case was brought. People were required by law to sit in a courtroom for God knows how long, um, to spend untold thousands, if not millions of dollars on a defense of this case. This is all very familiar to us. And so go ahead and page down, and let's just look at some of these quotes. So this is one of these guys. So keep going down. So let's see. Okay, so she said that, well, she was sober, but she says she participated in sexual activity, quote, on autopilot because she was afraid of the men she did not know outnumbering her in a hotel room. So the judge said, I don't buy that. So let's look at some of the evidence that the prosecution was trying to
What a
use.
great judge.
Right. You kind of wonder if they exist, and I guess in Canada they might. We've had a couple good ones in the U.S. And a couple not so good ones. So the accused here, it says, maintained that it was this woman, goes by initials EM, who instigated the group's sexual activity, encouraging the men and mocking them. Mocking them. Can you imagine mocking your rapist? Mocking them if they did not participate. So this woman was so terrified of a sexual assault that she mocked her would-be assailants. Okay.
I
Into
have
part.
to just say, I honestly have to feel pretty relaxed in a situation to do mocking.
Yes.
Like, I honestly can't even be mildly anxious if I'm going to be mocking anyone. I have to feel pretty fucking comfortable.
You have to be confident.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's keep going, right? So then everyone has to say that they're supportive. Oh, let's see. Keep going. Oh, here. Yep. Okay, keep going. Oh, this isn't the article though. Um,
Well, I sent them this one. My bad. If you want to just
no,
kind of
I had sent a different one, but it's here.
okay.
Let's just look at it real quick. Here we go. So, here we go. The Quillette article. There we go. Okay. So this has some great quotes in it. So, oh, it's not letting you in. Oh, maybe it's behind a paywall now. Well, that's my bad. Okay. So I had read, oh, that's weird. It's opening for me. Um, so here, I'll just read you some of the quotes. So this woman recorded a video. They recorded a video during the experience or right afterwards. She says, quote, "It was all consensual. Are you recording me? Okay, good. You're so paranoid. Holy, I enjoyed it. It was fine. I'm so sober. That's why I can't do this right now." So,
Wow.
defense attorney checklist. Let's just go down the list and okay, so that's like 3 in 1 right there. So then um The defense alleged and the prosecution denied that it was this woman, EM, who suggested that other players be invited to the hotel room because she wanted a quote, wild night. Okay. She did acknowledge, so she wanted them invited. She did acknowledge that she was naked when they arrived and that she did not put her clothes on. The defense argued that she then invited all of the young men present to have sex with her and that she consented to every sex act that followed. The prosecution countered she was drunk, intimidating, coerced, and that the video she recorded exonerating the defendants was actually proof that they had done something wrong. This was the argument, right? Which is why they told her to record it, right? And I'm sure that all this stuff about being sober and all that's in the script, I'm sure, for the recording. So, um, so then, uh, here, there's another quote that I'm looking for where I'm going to get you guys the taunt. She taunts them and she says, it's very, if you know hockey players, it's very hockey player language. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, I found it. This is the quote. Um, so basically, which one of you basically, you guys are all pussies for not fucking me tonight. That was that's why it's such a great quote. Um, but yeah, 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 that's the quote. Basically, you guys are pussies and you're for not getting over here and having sex with me.
So Eli, let me ask you, um, what do you think happens in a woman's psyche that
Oh
has her
God.
go from that to that?
Um, well, Aubrey, I I will look back to the way that I remember my coaching program at One Taste starting, which was someone said at some point, I remember the context, might have not even been in the program, but at some point someone said to me, identities are finite. Like like if you've ever been away to sleepaway camp as a kid or just like gone somewhere where no one knew you, there are these wonderful moments where a window opens where you can kind of redefine yourself. And suddenly a part of you that has not come out before gets to trot itself out and play something out or who knows what or the if you've not had a certain kind of attention before, and all of a sudden it's on you and sometimes you make a jerk of yourself and sometimes you do something totally extraordinary. um but my I've watched people have experiences that they deeply desired, only to that they had said for months they deeply desired, and then finally had, and nothing actually, quite frankly, of the order of freakiness of a five-way hockey player hotel gangbang. That's beyond. But you kind of have to think like there's something about that experience which for most people, I think even for for most women, while it may lurk in the psyche as a deep-seated desire, doesn't agree with someone's normal identity. And so as you get further and further away from an event like that, uh, all of the identities have white blood cells, so to speak. They have an immune response that protects them from from being disturbed. And so you can, and I've had my own experiences of this in various regards, where you have kind of an experience that's very uncharacteristic of who you believe yourself to be. And then you have to think of reasons other than I wanted to do it for why you did it. And I've had that experience. And, um, I think there's something in not just with women, but I do think sexually with women that can definitely be a thing because there's so much repression. And the minute you take the cork off of that or rub the lamp, and all of a sudden, so to speak, and it comes out. Um, you have to have an explanation. Why did daddy's girl do that? You know? And so yeah, that would be my response to that. What about you? Do
That's
you
good. I
do you
like that.
agree?
I
Do you
really
have do you
like
have a
that.
different do you have another viewpoint?
Um, no, not an other, but in addition to, I would add that the trend, that's been going on for a while, and Elizabeth Nolan Brown, writing for Reason, talked about this, where this kind of started on college campuses,
Hmm.
this level of consent talk in this way, kind of,
Right.
and then it has now spread to like pretty mainstream trend.
Prosecution. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get these prosecutors and, well, investigators, prosecutors, and sometimes judges, um, really going to bat for um, women who are saying, oh, like women who don't want to do the work to reconcile the identity, as you were just describing. Women who just want to blame someone for the thing that happened rather than doing the work to reconcile what that part of their identity did with who they are now. um, and it's interesting. It's terrifying. I mean, it's deeply disturbing that these, entities are backing that with the full might of the government. That's disturbing, but it's also interesting because they present as so like for women, and they present as these protectors and these rescuers and these listeners of women, and these like, I'm here for you, honey, like,
Right.
oh, were you harmed, like, let's get vengeance for you, or money, or whatever it is. And that's a masquerade. Those entities are stripping women of their power. Women's power hinges on ownership of experience. It is absolutely vital to our relationship with our power to do that work of reconciling who we were then with who we are now, and reconciling our shadowy, taboo desires with who we are, who we are in the sheets with who we are in the streets, or who we are in the streets with who we are in the office. Like, you have to, that work is absolutely vital to have power as a woman.
Yeah.
And so anyone who's showing up as any kind of protector for anything other than that, other than protecting that process, is masquerading as a protector, and is actually parasitically stripping women of their power.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Triggered something when you said that. I'm trying to remember what it was. Um, oh, just a one more bolt on to that, which is that, I think looking at what's even under that is that we have a culture which fundamentally doesn't teach people that the short-term gains of something like absolving oneself of any responsibility in a situation uh, are, can seem to be advantageous in the short term, but are horribly deleterious to the individual in the long term, even the medium term.
Mm.
Because like you said, you give up your power, and it's not just a spiritually abstract notion. You have literally agreed that you don't have as much volition as the next person. And if you believe that about yourself, or if you're living as that person when the truth could not be that, it's impossible. You simply couldn't be that, because you're a human being. You're a regular, just like the rest of us. And then to have to live inside of that story for the rest of time, that is people don't realize the toll that that takes on a person to have to live that lie and to sort of it takes effort and it takes energy. It's maintenance of something that's not natural. And it wouldn't matter what kind of maintenance you'd be doing. It doesn't matter. A lie is one way that that happens.
Mm.
Um, but I'm thinking like, what are some other like what would be a great comparison for like would you want to do X every day for the rest of your life? Like wouldn't that, like I guess I guess dressing up in some, I don't know, like having to convince someone of something, but you're convincing yourself. Like that's the hardest part is that
Hmm.
you at each turn you have to turn around and convince yourself, no, no, wait, I couldn't want X or I couldn't have done Y because I'm it's easy for me to, I can't, right? All of these little disempowering taglines, which you then have to live under the tyranny of, because if you ever break that, if you ever, you can't situationally apply it, because then you'd have to admit that that other time where it really mattered, that it also wasn't true.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's hard. That's harder. That's harder than
Yeah.
not getting your quick hit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's having me think of how, because Me Too was a big part of this, um, becoming this way. And and it's having me think of like the depth of missing nutrient of something like attention or something that women were willing to sell out for
Hmm.
in that movement. It was like, oh, let me like dig up some story and retell it in a way that's completely disempowering to myself and sell out on my own power completely,
Hmm.
um, in order to get ABC attention, internet attention. In some cases, it went to well, in a bunch of cases, it went to like litigation and money and stuff like that. But it was kind of like, what were we not? Where are we not giving ourselves something in a deep spot that needs it that we would sell out that hardcore?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because it started like the way it starts for a minute. I was kind of like, this could be cool. And then it was like immediately like, oh, not cool.
Baby's out with the bathwater.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Leah, hook us up. Where are we going next?
Okay,
Our
next on
conductor.
our journey, thank you very much, is hypergamy. So I'll let you guys explain more about what that
Hyperga
means.
what?
Hypergamy.
Hyperga
Hyperga
you?
hypergamy. Well, hypergamy. Well, inherent in that word, it's not just about me, it's hypergamy. So I will let you guys explain further what that means.
Do we have a headline on this one?
I don't know that we do have a headline. I don't know if I heard one. Oh, well, there's the David Geffen thing that we were told about, but I don't know much about that. But I think we could just talk about it.
Okay.
Because well, oh, so I could say what I've seen and then you say what you
Hmm.
see.
Yeah, yeah.
So um our perhaps one of our a couple of our most famous hypergamists, is that a word? If you're a hypergamist, is our very own Leonardo DiCaprio, who has this this now there's this like this mimetic joke about him that like he has a girlfriend until she turns 27 or something and then she's gone. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's like every time that's when the breakup happens, which is maybe he's just actually
25, I think it is.
25. You know, um, maybe he's actually just the perfect man for a woman before the age of 25. There's nothing wrong with that. But anyway, like perfect, like top shelf. But anyway, so hypergamy I guess is younger is the trend or the proclivity or the preference or whatever you want to call it of younger women who enjoy the romantic company of older men. And what we were, what we were talking about before this is that it used to be that when women didn't have as much money, or like women in general, like before the wage gap was meaningfully closed, um, women were dating, they were dating economically and age-wise up. So women would date older men. Then the wage gap closed. And interestingly, the hypergamy gap has not closed. So even with women making as much money as men, they still have the same dating patterns. So they still date older men, which is great news for me. No, but it is an interesting um, phenomenon to look at. Why is that happening? And what's behind that? And what Aubrey and I were, I'll do a little bit, and then Aubrey can weigh in. Is that I think that there's something like oftentimes in these conversations, what we'll be doing is we'll be looking at a phenomenon that appears to be, you know, uh, that people rag on. Oh, younger women, older men, she's looking for her dad and he's looking for, like a plaything or whatever. But, it's funny, as you get older, you can't really use that as much because women are older, they're more mature. Men, you can't use she's just young and doesn't know any better or whatever, right? It evaporates when you've got a 45-year-old dating a 55-year-old. Like you can't use that one anymore. And probably well before that point, but that's a very safe zone. And so what's happening there? And you know, there's a if you look on the Eros platform, there are a number of conversations that Nicole will talk about where she talks about the mycelial network of women and men being the conduits that carry nutrients and information between women and between nodes. And there's the hyphae, right? And there's a whole analogy to how this exists in nature in the form of the mycelial network. And so one viewpoint that I've heard is that women can sense when a man has a certain uh, set of properties, whether it be energetic or some wisdom. There's some frequencies, there's something in him that she goes, like there's something calling me to that because I don't yet possess those qualities or strains or whatever they are. And there's something that either I'll get or that will like arise organically from the union of me and that. And that's all that she has to know is like that's going to take me to the next place that I can go. And then that'll run its course in whatever time. And then there'll be another something, and
Her
I've heard
female
that.
gaze draws her
Yeah, there you
towards
go
a
again.
particular.
Nice pull. There you go. Nice pull again. And this is sort of analogous to they say, women play chess and men play checkers. Guys are, I'm just looking for, someone who's low drama and, you know, like sweet, and like good cook, like guys, and when they're like, I'm looking for my next karmic thread evolution, something or other. Um, and so then, so what's going on? Like what's happening in this hypergamy thing is, in general in relationships, men and women have we have a very lowest common denominator uh, paradigm that we live in as far as what are relationships for? Are they for sitting around and Netflix and chilling and going to the beach and just riding was it a tandem bicycle on the weekends or like whatever it is, or just raising a family or whatever? And relationships tend to drop to the level of biology. And, in Eros, the age of Eros, what we're talking about here is something far, 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 far different. Um, and it's not that one is good and one is bad. It depends on what your goals are. And some people's goals are genuinely to have that more, comfortable sort of conventional experience. And that's just not the viewpoints you're going to get here. Um, and so the question then becomes, are women still dating up because of some sort of biological echo that they don't know what the greater option is, right? They don't know what the other options are, which is really why we make a lot of the choices I think we make is we don't know the options. Um, and and is there something that they can all sense that pulls them towards those potential nutrients, which, there's some ancestral memory or something which says that exists in men who are more life seasoned than I, who have been around the block and have collected more life, right? Is that if we look at what's the evolved version of this phenomenon, could that be it? And that's one of the questions that I came to this call in with is like, oh, maybe that could be. Okay, rant over.
Mm. That was great. Yeah. The thing I think of with it is that I love that term you use, like a lot of the, when we kind of are picking our topics ahead of time and everything, and we do man woman stuff, you're always like, oh, this is the lowest common denominator level of this thing, And as far as I can tell, hypergamy is like, it's like a cool new word for just full embracing and acceptance and even celebration of transactional relationship.
Hmm.
What you're talking about, I mean, you're talking about where it wants to go. You talked a
Yeah,
lot about where it wants to
yeah.
go. And I think calling it hypergamy, and it's kind of like saying, I kind of almost like it in a way culturally, because at least it's honest. It's like it's like we all know that 99% of everybody's doing transactional relationship anyway, you guys. So let's just call it by a cool name and make it normal, you know?
Mm, mm,
And so I think that's kind of where the feeling of it makes me think of that.
mm,
And then where you're talking about like where it wants to evolve to, where that sort of lowest common denominator of relating, which is like transactional relating, where it wants to evolve to. The thing I keep thinking of, I love the thing you said, either just now or when we were talking about it earlier, both, about women sensing into what next connection or concurrent even like is like karmically going to something. I can't say that I'm always in that place, but I can say the more full I become as a woman, the more filled up I am. Through my orgasmic meditation practice, through my arousal practices, through like allowing myself to have tons of like female connection in my life and sisterhood, and to learn how to like open and be friends with and stop objectifying the men in my life. Like it's equally, hypergamy is equally transactional and objectifying. It's like trading, well, let's say wealth status and whatever that the higher or the older man might have for the kind of like youth and beauty and maybe fertility of what a younger woman has. But there's an equal amount of objectification. Like we talk a lot about objectification with women around sexualizing women, but we do not talk almost ever culturally about how hardcore women objectify men around relationship. Like we don't treat men like people.
mm.
We see them as, it depends. Like like the lowest common denominator of the karmic thing that you're talking about, the highest one would be like sensing into the karma with the various people in my life, and what is the correct mandala shape of engagement with, you know what I mean? And in the lowest common denominator of that is like, I am uncomfortable with my power as a woman. Men are not humans to me. Where can I dump my power? And so
Nice.
it's like, is it with it, doesn't even at that way. I mean, if it depending on where you're at with that and the level you're at with it could be a younger man or an older man or a high status or not high status or whatever. It's like whoever's, feels like the biggest black hole situation where you can just get rid of it because you just are so uncomfortable holding power in your body, you know. And so yeah, I think like I had this other thought that was recurring as well while you were speaking, which was I wonder if there's any correlation. I don't know, but I wonder if there's any correlation also that like the fuller you get as a woman, and the more like like genuine confidence, like foundational confidence and sense of value that you have, that you just sit in, and that's kind of your like resting state of being. If you actually end up, this is, I have no idea, this is like a total just like proposed theory. Do you actually end up liking a little bit younger men because you have so much to offer in their potential shaping? Like, could that be a thing? And so I just, it's like,
Fascinating.
yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eli, if you have more to
No, Leah,
say.
please go weigh in.
Okay. I just loved what Aubrey said, but if you have more to say, I was going to wrap us up and give some
Do
time, give
it.
some space for questions. Okay. So
Did we
thank
get any
you.
questions? Did anybody propose any topics for next week or anything?
Not yet, not yet, but I'm gonna give them a little opportunity now as a reminder that if you have any questions, to go ahead, you can raise your hand if you're joining us on the erosplatform.com live call. If you're on one of our social media platforms, post your question and we will give it to Eli and Aubrey.
Yeah, if it's like a little thing connected to something we talked about, we could probably do it now. But if it's a bigger thing, we'll note it and potentially talk about it on our next one.
I
So I'd love
actually
to get
have
everybody involved in giving us topic ideas and things, because I think it's just such a fun format.
Totally. Jack posted a comment talking about the mycelium network. So that could be a great topic for a future podcast. Um, and he explained it further. There's a Princeton study about it, the researchers. So there's a lot of science and erotic philosophy. I know about that one. And Murray also commented earlier that what you just said when you were speaking, Aubrey, about our first topic, which was male and female gaze. She said, what you just said makes me want to check all the ways I've still bought into the appearances trumps everything myth, even though I believe that I am past that. So that was a really beautiful reflection on the piece that you spoke about, where we wonder why, as women, men seem to only be obsessed with our appearance. And you're like, well, who made them that way? So that was a ringer. That was a good one.
That's a really good
Um,
one.
yeah. So if anyone has anything else they'd like to share, if not, you can also go to the erosplatform.com, the web or our Instagram, the Eros platform, and send in any topics that you have. Oh, we have Russell
And then
here.
I just want to make sure someone on our team captured Jack's comment, and we'll look at
Yes,
that next time.
we
Okay.
have it. Thank you, Aubrey. Got it. Okay, Russell, please go ahead. I will spotlight you. There you go.
I just, this is just, I love the dynamics between the two of you. You could almost have any subject and just get started, and then it would just be entertaining. And you should continue to do this. Notes on my screen. Yes, I'm unmuted. Um, a lot of the a lot of this happens because it takes two people to agree. So if you want to date younger women, you need a woman who wants to date older men. Um, and I think that sort of gets missed, or it was referred to earlier by, I'm just thinking out loud and I love being here. And um, and the other thing that's interesting is like when you have power, you need someone who can meet it in a way that works for you. And so I think both, if the world is your oyster, it's really nice to be balanced with someone who has some sort of even keel about how time has passed for them. And it doesn't, in a way, it doesn't matter what age or what gender you are, but it does work more commonly with younger women and older men. It just seems to be easier for the culture to support that. And I just love the power dynamics of this, because it's like It's like good swimming. Thanks.
Love that, Russell. Beautiful. So that is it for today's conversation on the Eros Revolution. However, oh, we just got a comment in from Instagram. Her ceremonial celebration said, really appreciated the conversation today. Thank you both. All right. So let us know what you liked here today. And if you have any topics you'd love to hear the Eros perspective on, you can email us at info@erosplatform.com or find us on Instagram and direct message us. So yeah, let us know. We'll be back on Tuesday at 1 p.m. And then we have an intro to Om class on the Eros platform where you can learn the practice of orgasmic meditation and learn more about the philosophy on August 23rd. So reach out to us and we would love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us. And until Thursday at 1 p.m. or Tuesday at 1 p.m., our next call,